China continuously is being made the boogeyman in the West, and while these countries are not perfect, China, from what I observe, is doing some more positive things that I think that the U.S. should be doing, but they don't do. And so now what the United States is doing is just they wrong for that. That's all I got to say. So let me go to my list because I got a list. And yes. Okay. So there's something that I need to show y'all. Let me see. Let me take that down. I'll keep that and take those down. Okay. Share the screen, JB. That's right. We're going to share a screen. Give it to me. Hit me one more time. All right. So it says U.S. and Taiwan in talks. In talks for U.S. $500 million in free weapons after arms deliveries stalled. Subheading says Taiwanese defense minister says the island will receive free supplies, including missiles and training, in addition to existing orders. Says the armaments are expected to be those readily available in the U.S. inventory. So this came out yesterday. Says Taiwan in talks with the Pentagon for $500 million in free weapons following delays in much-needed arms deliveries. The island's defense minister said on Monday. Defense Minister Chiu Cheng told the Taiwanese legislator that the talks have been underway for at least 4 months, confirming for the first time that the United States would send them free munitions. This is dangerous. Dangerous. Why? Because you are literally going across a red line that China said do not cross. You're literally playing with fire, not just fire, nuclear fire. And you're foregoing the one China policy that you guys have been adhering to for decades. And now look. The United States is playing with fire. It's not enough that we had 2 House speakers within the last year go to Taiwan, and they're like, yeah, that's a red line, don't cross. And now they're shipping free weapons. Well, technically it's not free. Nothing's ever free, especially when the United States is concerned. But free weapons to Taiwan. Quote, these extra weapons will be given to us for free and will not be deducted from the purchase list, which has been delayed by the United States, Chu said when pressed by lawmakers on the deal. Taiwan has complained of delays to U.S. weapon deliveries, including Stinger missiles and advanced F-16V fighter jets. The U.S. authorized the sale of 250 Stingers to Taiwan in 2019, but the shoulder-mounted missiles have been in demand in Ukraine. Asked what kind of weapons will be involved, Chu said they will include missiles and some logistics services to help train our soldiers so that they will be familiar with the weapons operations as soon as they arrive. And so I'm going to show you guys this video really quick. Hopefully I will not get a copyright strike because this is technically fair use because this is news. But let's go. So I'm going to keep the music down, but it says tension remains high in Taiwan. Says tension remains high in the Taiwan Strait as PLA military drills enter their 3rd day. The People's Liberation Army started simulating precision strikes in Taiwan on April 8th. Says mainland state media said patrols are surrounding and closing in on this island to circle it. Here's the thing, though. The crazy part is if we go by the one China policy, Taiwan is basically a province of China. Like, how are we going to sit there and act like Taiwan is some independent country? Like, is Alaska an independent country? Is Florida an independent country? Is Hawaii? Hawaii's really not the best example, but Hawaii should be an independent country. Puerto Rico should be an independent country, but it's not. But the thing is, the United States has really no moral leg to stand on. Like, my thing is, if you're going to try to liberate or help, Taiwan, then American Samoa, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Alaska, Texas, like, y'all need to let all that go. Let it go. Let New Mexico go. Let California go. Let Puerto Rico go. Let them go. But you don't want to. And yet, you're trying to throw, like, don't throw stones in glass houses. But yet, that's what they're doing. Anywho. So it says PLA aircraft flew dozens of sorties near the Taiwan Strait during the joint sword exercises. These drills are said to be test of PLA ability to seize control of the sea, air, and information. Let me see. So, hang on. All right. So,
实案组织，着眼提高火力快反和精准毁伤，全面检验武器装备实战运用中的新打法、新战法。
It began as Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen returned from a stopover in the United States. I met with top U.S. officials, including U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, on her transit stop. Says the meeting angered Beijing, which accused Washington of violating Chinese sovereignty, which it did because they had the one China policy. And they basically did violate Chinese sovereignty. So, of course, Beijing would be upset. And the United States is like, too bad, so sad. But how would the United States feel if China did the same thing to Alaska? Well, we need, or even still, let's go to Puerto Rico. What if the United States did this to Puerto Rico? Right? So, a lot of times people will look at the United States and go, well, we're just trying to help the people. And I'm like, well, China could do the same. But then people will be ready to fight. So it is no reason to say that, well, if China's ready to fight, stop poking the bear. All right.
以过境为幌子，纵容台独分裂分子在美国从事政治活动，开展美台官方往来，提升美台实质关系，此举严重损害中方主权和领土完整。
Tsai's meeting with McCarthy was the first time a Taiwanese leader has met a U.S. House Speaker on American soil since 1970. U.S.-China tensions have worsened over Washington's interactions with Taipei. In August 2022, the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei as part of a tour of Asia, prompting similar condemnation from Chinese mainland officials. Beijing sees Taiwan as a Uyghur province and view that it can land by force. And the thing is like people are going to say, well, they're trying to force their way, to keep it, and you have the United States trying to force their way into China. Most countries, including critics, would not consider Taiwan to be a sovereign state, but many oppose possible attempts to take the self-rule island by force. Here's my thing. If China really wanted to take Taiwan by force, how can you take something that's already yours? First of all. Second of all, even if China wanted to take Taiwan by force, they would have been done it. They would have been done a long time ago. So why in the hell wouldn't they? Because it's already theirs. That's like the continent of Africa trying to, claim Madagascar. Madagascar is already part of Africa. It's been part of Africa. Even though it's an island right off the coast, it's still part of it. Am I crazy for thinking that? Weird. In Taiwan, the mainland's latest military exercises have elicited a mixed response. This is good.
我觉得台湾人应该很多都算是习以为常，对，就是觉得说，就是又过来了这样。
我觉得这样真是像以前大家在中共比较和平的状况下，我是觉得统一不会。
She said, I thought unification would not create any major problems for me.
对我造成很大负担，可是现在看香港的状况，就会觉得他有点去警示的感觉。
I think China is kind of issuing a warning.
感觉。
Across the strait in Fujian province, mainland tourists voiced support for the drills. Sorry.
还是比较希望能够和平收复的吧。然后毕竟军演啊什么的都是说可能是展现我们国力强大的一个部分吧。然后像蔡英文他串美这件事的话，其实国家的回应我觉得是蛮好的，也是不会，既是打击了他嚣张气焰，也是给我们就是全国人民一个信心吧，我们一定能够收复台湾。
So that's basically what's going on. And, the United States is consistently trying to poke the bear as far as China is concerned. And there's some other things that have been going on that were really very recent in the news. And so I'm going to share this with you guys as well. I'm going to show you guys a tweet from Carl Jha. You guys know that he was here about a little over a week ago, and we were talking about some things regarding China. Carl Jha is Chinese, and so he was speaking about, the things that go on in China and some of the misconceptions. And Carl Jha quote tweets, he says, Canada expels Chinese diplomat. There will be consequences. And let's see this statement. It says, Canada declares Zhao Wei persona non grata. And persona non grata just basically means unacceptable or unwelcome person. And so it continues, says the Honorable Melanie Jolly, Minister of Foreign Affairs, today issued the following statement. Canada has decided to declare persona non grata Mr. Zhao Wei. I have been clear. We will not tolerate any form of foreign interference in our internal affairs. Diplomats in Canada have been warned that if they engage in this type of behavior, they will be sent home. This decision has been taken after careful consideration of all factors at play. We remain firm in our resolve that defending our democracy is one of the utmost importance. So this is what is being accused of Zhao Wei, that was a diplomat in China. But I would like to actually go into this conversation between Canadian Deb and Carl Jha. This is actually very interesting. Canadian Deb says, you don't see why this action will be taken, Carl. Honest question, not looking for a fight with you or any of your followers, wondering if you can see the, quote, reasonable reason behind what you find unreasonable, end quote, in this matter. Sometimes when we disagree with a conclusion, we can still follow the logic that the other party took to get there. Is that the case here? Carl actually responds and says, let's look at the facts. Canadian intelligence, CSIS, claimed China is collecting info on Michael Chong, who has family in Hong Kong. Chong said that he is not aware of it. Then the CSIS claimed likely to effort to intimidate Chong. Even if we take CSIS claim of China collecting info on Chong as true, it looks like China hasn't done anything beyond collecting info. Why would China collect info on Chong? Well, China sanctioned Chong in 2021 for pushing Uyghurs genocide nonsense. I imagine you need to find about his financial dealing in China to sanction his derriere. Anyway, China has decided to embark on decoupling from Canada has decided to embark on decoupling from China that US hawks desperately wanted. So be it. Canada can live with its consequences. And so this basically shows that what's going on in Canada, that this is Canada is choosing its side, and it's basically that the little brother to the United States. It is the little annoying brother to the United States. That's what it feels like to me. That's what it seems like. And, it is what it is. But China also made a move. So let's go and check and see what China did. So China said, real talk? Okay, bet. So this is out of People's Daily China. It says China on Tuesday, which is today, ordered a Canadian diplomat in Shanghai to leave the country by May 13th as a countermeasure, the Chinese FM said. So this is actually what's going on. So it's like, well, China's like, well, yeah, okay, your diplomat needs to get to stepping now too. Kick rocks. So, there's a lot that's going on in regards to China right now. And there's this like vitriol that's going up against China, but it's like, what vitriol has China really ignited that is really a cause for concern? Because things like the Uyghur genocide have actually been debunked by many different people. You can go to those different various resources. And so what is really China doing? Like, people will say, oh, well, China's having a lot of influence on African countries, yet China was one of the ones who actually canceled the debt. I think it was 17 different debts that they canceled. And even still, of course, China wants to have some influence. Every country wants to have influence. And they're going about it by actually giving, giving these countries infrastructure, but they're not doing it in a forceful way like the United States does it. They're like, As long as we have friendly relations and friendly trade, you guys will have that, and we'll have loyalty between each other, then that's how we'll do it, right? You guys still seeing me, Louis, there in Talamon? I went out for a second. My Wi-Fi went out for a second. My internet went out for a second. Oh, just let me know in the chat, but I'll keep going. But yeah, so a lot of these African countries are, basically using soft power. And I don't really see that big of an issue with it because it's really helping out the people. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Bill Bradley says China's using what's called soft power. It's not coercion. It's creating goodwill and thus a desire to work together. And that's basically what I see. Thank you so much for that, Bill Bradley. Always coming in with the, elevating the conversation. I appreciate it. So there's something that I found that a lot of people are now starting to look at. And for some reason, I was just like, this could be a concern for the West. This is out of Bloomberg. It says China's gold splurge reaches 6 months as reserves rise again. This came out a couple days ago. It says China added to its gold reserves for the 6th straight month, extending a flurry of purchases as central banks around the world expand their holdings of bullion amid escalating geopolitical and economic risks. China raises gold holdings by 8.09 tons in April, according to data from the State Administration of Foreign Exchange on Sunday. Total stockpiles now sit at about 2,076 tons after the nation increased reserves by about 120 tons in the 5 months through March. Central banks have purchased large amounts of gold in the past year to diversify assets as well as to protect reserves from the impact of weakening dollar and rampant inflation. While inflows moderated in the first quarter of 2023, volumes were still historically elevated levels, according to the World Gold Council. Singapore, China, and Turkey were among the biggest buyers. The voracious appetite for gold has helped prices scale near record highs as markets fret over a slowing U.S. economy and signs of a persistent credit stress. Geopolitical risks stemming from increasingly fragile Sino-American relations are also boosting a safe haven appeal of bullion. China's recent buying spree that began in November is a first since a 10-month run that ended in September 2019. Prior to that, the last wave of inflows ended in late 2016. Meanwhile, China's end of April current foreign currency reserves rose to $30.2048 trillion, up by $20.9 billion from the month before, the data showed. It says rise in the foreign exchange reserves was a result of U.S. dollar depreciation and rise in global financial asset prices. The foreign exchange regulator said in a statement, China's economic rebound will help the reserves keep basically stable. So China is now swimming in gold. Not looking so good for the United States. Not looking so good for the de-dollarization. Not looking so good for global, U.S. hegemony. Not looking good for full spectrum dominance. So the United States is ramping up. They're like, oh my God, we got to go after China. They're going to be so prosperous. They're going to make us look bad. China's just doing what it can for its people. Is China really the enemy? I don't see a whole bunch of imperialism coming out of China. Do you? I don't see it. But the problem is that it's kind of like oh, got it. Husbands. You ever had friends that their anniversary was coming up, or wife's birthday, something like that. And your friends that are a married couple, the husband does this big display, right? They take him on a big trip. They get him a really big present. They do something really grand, beautiful, large type of thing for their spouse. And then the husband gets mad. He's mad at the other husband because now the wife's looking at the other wife and going, well, my husband never does anything like that for me. I would like for something like that. And so the husband gets mad. He gets jealous. Instead of stepping his game up, he gets mad at the other husband. The United States is that husband. The United States is going, trying to step in their game up with their people. Absolutely not. Not on my watch. We're going to make them pay instead of stepping their game up for their people. China has 4 times the people that the United States has. 4 times more than we do. Yet, landmass is similar. China has a similar landmass than the United States. But the United States does not do as well for its people. What was it? China, they got rid of extreme poverty in their nation. Now, they still have some poverty, but extreme poverty is gone. Gone. Carl Zhao was on here about 2 weeks ago. What is it? He said 80% of Chinese people own their homes. The home ownership rate in China is 80%. Meanwhile, we're floating around 65% here in the United States. If you count white people, it's like 65%. If you count black people, our home ownership rate is probably between 45 and 50%. So, yes. Thing is that the United States is basically just a jealous husband that he can't do for his wife because he just chooses not to. It's not that he can't. He can, but he just chooses not to. Meanwhile, China is like, hey, honey, I'm home. Here's a bouquet of flowers. You want some chocolates? Here's some chocolates. It's not our anniversary. It's not my birthday. I don't care. Just because. I love you, baby. But the United States is like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. She knows I love her, even though it doesn't show it. So, yeah, that's what it looks like to me. And the yuan is on the rise. I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Man, I'm telling you, man, this is some crazy stuff, man. The United States, and they're trying to get their little pestering little brother Canada to join in. All right, to the Rockfin chat. So we have Jenny saying, listening in. Thank you for this. Thumbs up. Thank you so much, Jenny. Appreciate it so much. Let's go to the other chats. All right. Baba Yaga Forest Dweller says China is doing what America should have been doing. I agree. Now, I'm not saying China's perfect, right? China got a lot of things that they need to do right too. But they are operating better on the world stage than the United States. And you got to remember, China got, 1.4 billion people? Billion with a B. And they were able to get rid of extreme poverty. Meanwhile, we got 330 million. We got about a quarter of what they have. And we can't do that for our people? We can't increase the home ownership rate in this country?